I'm going to tell you the biggest problem, the absolute biggest problem you have when it comes to marketing yourself. The biggest problem is a lack of visibility. It is the fact that nobody knows who you are. And if nobody knows who you are, they can't do business with you. You can have the greatest presentation in the world. You can have the greatest product, the greatest content, the greatest whatever. You can have the greatest, but if nobody knows who you are, then nobody can do business with you. I found this out a long time ago. I believe I was in high school, or maybe it was like just as a transition from high school to college. I don't know, but it was when I was pretty young. And so what happened was I was at a house party. At this house party, there was another entertainer there, and there was this illusionist there. And the whole time I'm trying to get gigs as an illusionist, as a mentalist, but I wasn't really getting too many. I mean, I was doing decent, but not a lot. And so this other guy, he was there, he was doing some tricks, and so I started talking to him afterwards, and I realized this guy was getting a lot of gigs. I'm like, dang, this dude knows some business. And I realized that he wasn't any better than me, he wasn't any smarter than me, nothing. In fact, I thought I was way better than him, and so I realized that he was getting more gigs than me at a higher rate than me. He was charging more, and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what is this guy doing that I'm not doing? And it was the fact that I didn't have the visibility. I didn't understand the marketing process. So even though I was really good at performing, even though I was really good at presenting, I just didn't have the marketing process that he had down. And so a lot of people, they don't get this. And a lot of people, they just assume someone's going to find them. They're just like, let me produce content and then people are going to find me. And despite there's millions and billions of people out there producing all this content, I'm pretty sure people are going to find me instead. And so you essentially have to do things that get you found. You can't assume people will find you. If you have the greatest video in the world, if you have the greatest presentation, the greatest product, whatever it is, you can have the greatest. But if nobody knows you exist, your business will not exist. And so you got to ask yourself, what do you do about it? I mean, what do you do if you have the greatest presentation, the greatest product, or the greatest whatever? What do you do about it? Well, first, you need to understand that you are the problem. So that's the first thing. It's your fault, 100%. You, more often than not, you heard about cold calling. You heard about emailing. You heard about Google advertising, Facebook ads. You heard about all this stuff. So why aren't you doing it? I mean, why aren't you actually doing it? I can't tell you how many people I've talked to where I told them, like, well, why don't you send out emails to get gigs? Like, why don't you send out emails to get clients? And they're like, yeah, but I mean, what do I say though? I don't know. Or they'll just say like, yeah, I agree. And then all of a sudden 2 months later, it's like, how many emails did you send out? Not many. There's got to be a better way. And I'm like, dude, come on, man. I mean, you got to understand that you are the problem. A lot of people, when they hear about something, they already know it. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone watching this already knows about cold calling, emailing, Facebook ads, Google AdWords. Everyone knows about those, but very few people are actually doing it. And the people who aren't doing it, those are the ones who have the lack of visibility. Those are the ones who have the problems when it comes to actually getting business in general. And so you got to understand first that you are your problem. And once you understand that, you need to start doing it despite not doing it perfectly. A lot of people, I mean, they want to do things perfectly before they even start. They're like, oh, I got to make sure that everything's in place. But what happens is you figure it out as you go along. And most people, they're just afraid to start. Most people, they literally do not start at all. And you got to essentially think, okay, what's working for others? What systems are they using? And if it's working, then you just got to think, why isn't it working for me? Like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? So, for example, with me, my system for getting gigs is sending out emails. I mean, it's really just that, sending out emails. And the other one was Google AdWords. But in fact, Google AdWords is a perfect example because I remember years ago when I first did Google AdWords, I tried to do Google AdWords and it didn't work for me. I mean, I spent $500, didn't work. It just bam, just gone. I might as well just ripped up $500. Then I said, you know what? I'm pretty sure Google AdWords works. So I spent another 500 bucks. Bam, just gone. Might as well rip that up too. And I can't remember how much I spent on Google AdWords, but I lost a lot of freaking money. It just didn't work for me at first. And I knew that it worked. I knew Google AdWords worked because it was working for other people. I mean, especially other people like me, other entertainers, other speakers. It was working. I just couldn't get it to work. And so I was wondering, I mean, what do I got to do? And so you essentially got to look at others. What are they doing? And then you can do the same thing. You just got to get it to work for you. And so most people, they're just afraid to start from the very get-go. They're just thinking in terms of, let me do it perfectly. Let me know everything that I got to do before I do it, instead of actually doing it. Whereas what really happens is you figure it out as you go along. You learn a certain amount, and then at a certain time, you say, okay, that's enough. I need to now go do it, and I can learn the rest. And you literally just improve as you go along. And for example, in the event finder system that I have, where I talk about prospecting and I show speakers how to get on stages, I talk a lot about a CRM, and I talk about how to use a CRM, how to find the events and how to put them in there, and all this stuff. And a lot of people, they were trying to figure out how to use a CRM inside of their heads before they actually used a CRM. And I said, look, no matter how descriptive I am, in fact, the more descriptive I am in terms of describing how the CRM works, it gets harder for you to visualize it inside of your head. So you have to actually get in there, use the CRM, and then you'll see, oh, that's how it works. And so you have to improve as you go along. So at the very beginning, I remember when I was trying to find and contact events to get hired, what I would do is I would find the event and then contact them at the same time. So I would go to Google, I'd type in conference or something, I look at a conference, and then I say, okay, cool, this is a good conference, let me send them an email. And that's what I did. I mean, it made sense. It's like, okay, you find a conference, send an email. But then I realized, okay, there's a better way to do it. Instead of just finding and contacting at the same time, let me split it up, because I'm a firm believer in focus. I'm a firm believer in don't multitask. You just focus on one thing. And so I say, you know what? Let me just focus only on finding events. Not contacting them. I'm only going to find events. I'm going to put them into the CRM as leads. Then the next day I'll go back and I'll contact them. And it was a huge shift. I mean, a huge change, because in the beginning, when I would find and contact events at the same time, I would get through 20 in 1 hour, if that. I mean, it was taking up a lot of time. But then when I just completely switched, and I said, you know what, let me only find events. When I said I'm only going to do this one thing, and I only found events, I was able to find 100 events just easily, just like that. Just bam, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. It was like, bam, just one after the other. Because, I mean, it was just real quick. It was just focused. And then when I went the next day, I went in, I was able to contact them. It was just like, bam, 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 bam. Just contact. And it was just really fast because I was really focused. And so I improved the process as I went along. I never would have figured that out from the very get-go. I never would have thought oh, let me split these two up. Oh, that makes sense. Let me split them up. I figured it out because I actually went in there. I did it first. I realized there was a more efficient way to do it. And then I did it the more efficient way. And so a lot of people who have a lack of visibility, I mean, they just have a lack of gigs lined up, a lack of clients lined up. It's usually because there's that lack of visibility. Nobody knows who they are, and then they're scared to actually go out there and get the business because they think in terms of, I got to do this perfectly, and oh, it's got to be perfect before I do everything, instead of just improving as you go along. So you got to understand that if you have a lack of business, if you have a lack of clients, if you have a lack of gigs, a lack of sales in general, it is because of you. And you need to just flip that around and understand you need to go out there. Don't assume people are going to find you. Increase that visibility, and that's how you're going to get business. That's how you're going to make more money. That's how you're going to increase profits, improve your business.